Hi everyone, it's Dominic from the Primetime Treasure eBay store and YouTube channel. Thank you very much for coming back to see another video. And on this one, I'm going to talk to you about bubble wrap. Bubble wrap is really important if you're selling items that need to be shipped and could either get scratched up, damaged, or broken, and you want to give it that extra layer of protection. There's sometimes going to really be a crucial supply that you use to make sure that your product gets to the customer safely. Now, as with anything, there's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things, and I'm going to give you a little tutorial here about bubble wrap and how to use it properly, because it seems like a simple thing, but a lot of people mess it up both in terms of use and in terms of how they purchase it and source it. So first of all, let me just talk to you about the two main types of bubble wrap that there are. There's small bubbles and there's large bubbles. Now the small bubbles look like this, okay? They are fairly tiny, okay? You've all seen these before, you know, and you squeeze it and it'll pop like that, okay? And there's also the larger bubbles, okay? So these are generally like half-inch size bubbles, okay? Now obviously these bubbles are going to give your item greater protection than these small ones are, okay? So if it's an item that needs extra protection, make sure that you use the large bubbles and not the small ones. So you should make sure that you have both of them on hand. So before I get into use, let's just talk a minute about sourcing these, okay? Now, some of you might be going into the dollar store or going into the grocery store and picking these up in these little small rolls that kind of look like this, and you know, and buying them for $4 or $5 or something like that. If you're planning on expanding your business and growing your business and you're going to use these a lot, that's not the way to source it. That's only the way to source it if you're going to ever use it just once in a while. But I highly advise that you purchase them bubble wrap in bulk. Now, there's lots of places where you could go and get bubble wrap in bulk, but when you buy it in bulk, it's going to look like this, okay? It's going to come in these large rolls, okay? Now, this is Duck brand. They are the most famous brand of bubble wrap. The bubble wrap is great quality, so I like to use it if I could get it at a good price, okay? So it kind of looks like this, just to give you another sense of it. And this is 150 square feet, so make sure you check out the footage, okay? So that's this one, and then the large one will look like this, okay? So it's going to be a little bit bigger looking because the bubbles are thicker, and so this is also, and this is only 100 square feet and still looks like it's a little bigger than the other one. That's just because the bubbles are thicker. So you could get these for pretty cheap in bulk. For example, the small ones here, you could get them on Amazon with Prime shipping for about $17, actually a little less. So I would highly advise doing that. That's a good option or a place to get them, because the other good thing that's cool about when you get them through Amazon is Amazon ships them to you in a big giant cardboard box, and I use that cardboard box to cut up for protection for selling when I sell my comic books and other things that need cardboard in it. So I get this huge big thing of cardboard that I like to use. So that's one place to source them. Another place where you could find these in bulk is, you could find them in Walmart. You could get them. I know a lot of people get them at Costco or Sam's Club or places like that. So you could get them in those places and sometimes get a good deal as well. If you see free bubble wrap anywhere, make sure you pick it up. So if someone sends you something in the mail and there's bubble wrap in it, take it, stash it. If somebody has bubble wrap laying around at the office, at work, just pick it up, grab it, stash it, bring it home. Because it does add up, and you do wind up, you could go through it pretty quickly depending on how much stuff you're selling. Always make sure you have an extra one on hand. So don't wait until this one runs out before you get another bubble wrap, because then you're not going to have it when you need it. So that's why you see I have this one laying around. As soon as I start going into this one, that's when I purchase my other one. I'll put a link down low in the description section to this bubble wrap right here if you're interested in just getting it that way. That's really simple. The larger bubble wrap I also got through Amazon, but through Prime, but for some reason right now they're not offering it through Prime, but they might again. So you have to buy it directly through Duck brand right now, so it might be a cheaper option for you to get the large bubble wrap item right now, somewhere in the in like I said, in Walmart or Sam's Club or something like that. But check back on Amazon, because they do this sometimes where they take something off Prime and then they put it back on. So check back again for they're called the large bubbles. So check that one out. Okay, so the next thing, now that you have your bubble wrap, is figuring out which type of bubble it is that you want to use. Now, if it's an item that you're not really worried about is going to break, you just want to give it a nice layer of protection, a nice layer of cushioning. That's when you're going to use the small bubble. So for example, I mean, I just sold a lot of piece by piece of 17 porcelain signs, and what I would do is sandwich them between two pieces of cardboard, but I'd layer them in a thin layer of bubble wrap. Now, this is a sign that I have right now. It's a street sign, and it's up for sale at the Primetime Treasure eBay store right now for Beach Avenue. And once this does sell, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay it out, and I'm going to take this thin layer of bubble wrap, and I'm just going to lay it out, and I'm going to make sure, I put it right on top here. And then I'm going to fold it over just like this. And I'm going to wrap it up real nice. It's going to have a nice thin layer. And then what's going to happen, just lean back a little bit so you can see that. Okay, so then I'm going to sandwich it between thick pieces of cardboard, so it'll be nice and protected when it ships. Okay, this is something where you really don't have to use the big giant bubbles. It's just going to make the package too poofy and everything, and it's not something that's going to break. It's not a ceramic item or anything like that, so you don't have to really worry about using the large bubbles for that. I mean, the large bubbles you really want to use somewhat sparingly if you can, because they are more expensive than the smaller bubbles. And there are places, by the way, where you could get this a little bit cheaper than $16.88, which is what they're selling for on Amazon Prime right now. I mean, there's a couple places on Amazon where you can get it for a little bit cheaper than that. But this is the Duck brand, like I said, and I trust the Duck brand, so that's why I just like to use that one. Okay, now if it's more of an item like this is a ceramic item of what's called a combat gnome or a sniper gnome, as you can see right here. And this is a pretty valuable item. Right now I have it at up on the Primetime Treasure eBay store for over $100. So I want to make sure that when this gets to the customer that it doesn't break. Okay, so this is something where I would not want to use the small bubbles, because the small bubbles are not going to give it the protection that it needs. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you put it in the bigger bubbles. Okay, so with the bigger bubbles, when you wrap it up, a couple things let me talk about here, and this gets into a little bit of something that's somewhat controversial, but it really shouldn't be, is when you wrap the item in the bubble wrap, should the bubbles be facing inwards, okay? So like the item being here, or should the flat part be, or should the bubbles be facing outward with the item over here on this side? Okay, so let's say, for example, what a lot of people will do is they'll take the bubble wrap, they'll take the gnome, they'll put it in here, they'll roll the gnome up in the bubble wrap, okay, and it's perforated, so you just pull it off the perforation here, just like that, okay, and they'll wrap it up like this, okay, and the way they'll have it is that these bubbles will be facing on the outside. Now, some people could disagree, but the general consensus, including from the manufacturers of bubble wrap, of how you're supposed to do this, is the bubble should actually be facing inwards. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, if the bubbles are on the outside, this is easy. If someone's pressing on them, they're going to pop. So if they get pressure on them from externally, they'll break, and then you don't have the protection that you need. The bubbles, what they do help to do when you flip it over this way, okay, and now I'm going to have the bubbles facing right onto the item, okay, what they're going to do is these bubbles, they have these little spaces in between, is they are going to help grab onto the item and secure it. And if you tie it nice and tight, okay? And I'm gonna do that over here, just a little bit easier for me putting it down. And of course, I don't wanna drop it. But you wrap it up like this, really tight, okay? And now, it's going to secure your item very well because it's going to grab onto it well. The other thing is that if external pressure gets put onto it, it's not going to pop the bubbles as easily. So that's something that you want to make sure that you do, is you face the bubbles onto the actual item and don't have the bubbles facing outwards. Now, if you want proof of what I'm talking about, okay, you don't want to just take my word for it on it, all you have to do is get any mailer that's made, okay, any bubble mailer, okay, like this is one from the U.S. Post Office. It's their bubble packing mailer. Look inside, and what you could see, right, is the bubbles are actually facing outwards to the item, okay? So when it goes in there, the bubbles are going to, the poofy part of the bubbles are going to grab onto the item. And all the manufacturers of these bubble mailers do it that way, and that's the reason why. So if you've been doing it the other way, let this video be a way to help you change that, so because it will increase the chance that your product will arrive to its destination safely. Okay, so that's that part. Now, the next part about bubble wrap, and this is a part that I think a lot of people make mistakes on, is they will take their item and they will wrap it up. Okay, so let's say they'll take a couple pieces of tape and they'll tape it right here. They'll put a piece of tape here, okay? And they'll put a piece of tape over here. Now, I'm not going to wrap the whole thing up right now for the purpose of this demonstration because I don't need to show you the point that I want to make. But just real quick, okay, what you should do is your test for bubble wrap in terms of whether or not you have this right, okay, is you should not be able to feel hard parts of the object through the bubble wrap, okay? Because remember, there's these little spaces in here that are not going to always provide protection depending on what the item is. So you can see here, here's the gnome's little hand and arm, okay? And it's getting right into that crack or crevice. So when I push down on it, right over here by the arm, I cannot feel the actual item. I just feel the bubble wrap, okay? You could hear that, listen. Okay, but when I touch the hand right here, listen to that. See, it's more dull because I'm actually touching, I could actually feel it right there, okay? So that little finger could break or snap off, and if that happens, this person's gonna want their money back, okay? So we don't want that to happen. So what you're gonna have to do in this situation is you're either gonna have to make sure you double wrap that particular piece. You don't necessarily have to double wrap the entire item, but just double wrap the section where you don't have adequate protection and you could actually still feel the solid object that's in there. You could also just have, like I do over here, I just have some, you know, random kind of bubble wrap scraps that are just kind of on the side that I use, and then just cut them and trim them to size just to go over a little piece. This way you don't have to, you know, keep taking whole chunks of bubble wrap off of your roll. Just keep some extra scraps on the side and use it for that purpose. So that's the next thing to tell you about what to do with bubble wrap. Now, the other thing I would tell you, so I'm gonna just step right here for 1 second. I'm just gonna grab a box to show you something, okay? So let's just say, for example, I had this gnome, and this box is probably a little too small. Let me get one that's a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so let's just say, theoretically, that I was going to put this gnome inside this box. Okay, now, believe it or not, what some people do, and you probably might have even experienced this purchasing on eBay yourself, is somebody takes the item, they bubble wrap it pretty well, okay? They put it in the box like this. Now you see we have all this space in the box, okay? And they just close it, lock it up, and ship it. And don't seem to give any thought to the fact that this is going to start rolling around all over the box. Now you may have protected it pretty well in the bubble wrap, but the problem is when you have all this space inside the box, it's going to smash around, and if it's going far, like it's going coast to coast, if it's going New York to California or something, this thing is going to be flying around all over the place. And if it flies around hard enough, and especially if it's something ceramic or glass, there's a chance that it's going to break. Okay, so to protect yourself from doing that, you have to make sure that even after you have secured this item in the bubble wrap, that you still do what you can to take things like these air cushions to make sure that you fill in the gaps. Okay, now there's all different types of sizes for these air cushions. There's big ones like this, there's small ones like this. I'll put a link to some of those below in the description section for the air bubbles. Okay, but you know, these ones here are actually just ones that I just found laying around somewhere, so I just picked them up, or they're ones that, you know, came in an order that I got from somebody, so I just take all the extras and I keep it for myself. But I also have ones that I order. But you can see the whole point here is to make sure once I stuff these in, and I'm not going to do it exactly because I'm just trying to make the point, but you know, we'll do one more here just to throw in. The whole point is that this is going to now be nice and layered with air bubbles, so that once I close it up and I seal this box, okay, and I tape it up and I shake it, you hear that? You can't actually hear it shaking around in there, right? It's not, there's nothing. I'm going to stop talking for a second, and I'm just going to do this, and you could just listen to what I'm talking about, that you will not hear this moving around. And I didn't even take the time to do it perfectly yet, but just try to fill in the gaps real quickly just for this video. But just listen for a second. All you hear there is the actual air packing right there. Okay? So that's your goal for every package. If you package something up and you hear it shaking around, moving around, bashing from side to side, you know you did it wrong. So I actually do like to do this little shake test right before I actually put all the tape on it. You see, I don't have any tape on the outside of it now, because the worst thing is if you tape the box up and then you shake it around and realize, uh-oh, it's shaking around, it's making noise in there, and now you got to take all the tape off, put it back on. Just do this little shake test right beforehand, okay? So that's really the main thing to tell you about bubble wrap. You know, sometimes, you know, you want to use these little bubble mailers, so, you know, you get those too. But that's really it. So I hope that you liked the video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure, as an aside, that you come and check out the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, which is a little group I started for people who are really into reselling and want a nice little community that they could get together with and talk to about reselling and topics like this and things to be on the lookout for, and put links to their own YouTube videos or other YouTube videos that they find helpful, or promote their eBay store. I want you to come in, just check the description section down below where I have a link to it. All you have to do is click it, click join. It's just a little request that you have to make. I'll take a look. I'll check out the application, which all it involves. You don't have to answer any questions. You just hit join, and if everything looks good, you're in. So if you don't want to do that, just click Reselling Resource Center, and you could just find us that way. That's pretty much it, except just make sure you subscribe to this channel if you like it, and leave a comment down below in the comment section. I do read the comments. I like the comments. If you have ideas, suggestions, cheaper places to get bubble wrap than maybe I suggested, please feel free to put that down below. As I said, I learn from you, you learn from me. That's how it works. In terms of the subscriptions, I love to see those, and those motivate me to make more videos every time I see more subscriptions. So if you come to this channel and you like the videos and you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you just take the extra step, hit that treasure chest, hit the word subscribe, come back to check out other videos, share these videos with other people that you think might find them interesting, and I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys soon. Have a great reselling week. Take care. Bye-bye.